So apparently, African Americans also want to make James Bond black. The problem with this is James Bond wasn't made to characterize black people. James Bond was not about black people at all. Idris Elba says James Bond audiences wouldn't accept a black actor spy. And that's something most celebrities would never say. He believes the world isn't really ready for a black James Bond, and not because it's Hollywood, but because of global audiences. There are more people in the world who see things more than just black people here, and I guess democratic progressive people. So let's break down what he said a little bit, why he said it, and what it reveals about race, culture, and the Bond franchise. Because I don't think the Bond franchise is going to be impacted by not going progressive at all. And so apparently he's been rumored to be in the running to play James Bond, and he said that the audiences wouldn't go for a black male in Africa, and he said that the audiences wouldn't go for a black male, an African male playing the 007 spy. You'll get to why, and we'll get to why in a second. And it makes sense. Like, it's really simple, but people like to make things complicated and don't want you to go ahead and read and find out for yourself. He says here, James Bond was written how he was written for a reason. And he said that at an actual interview. And he was like, he's warned against making James Bond woke or changing him to satisfy modern taste, because that's what people want to do. People want to change things to fit how things are that day instead of having things be traditionally how they were meant to be. This is the same argument that goes for the Bible as well. Well, why doesn't the Bible account for this today? Why doesn't the Bible account for this and that? Because the Bible doesn't change according to modern times. The Bible is a fundamental moral structure for the whole entire human race to follow. Not everyone follows it, and there are a lot of problems for it. Even the people that follow the Bible, or even people who claim to be Christians, they still claim to follow the Bible, but they do a whole bunch of debaucherous things, evil things, adulterous things, are thieves. And it's like, we can't ever blame the Bible for how people want to manipulate it and use it for their advances. And so he actually made it clear that the rumors around this, it was never legit. It was always just a rumor. And this happens a lot in the movie industry, where people will say things and get everyone riled up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, are we actually really doing this? Yeah, the fans want it, and then they do it. And so that's how these things start. And so I don't blame him for making it clear in this interview that, hey, this is actually just speculation. People kind of made this up. It's not real. And this is classic Elba. He says Bond is so unrealistic, so a hint of reality is good, but let's not try and make it woke. I think you've got to be pure to what it is: escapism. Don't try and answer the world's taste, just be Bond. That kind of sounds like what the Bible tells us about the world. Don't go along with the world. Just operate within the boundaries and confines that God has placed his protection hedges around, and you'll be just fine, no matter what the world says. And so, just to give a little bit of education around this, the Bond character was actually created in the 1950s by Ian Fleming, and he wrote Bond as a white British spy, a Cold War archetype, right? Because I have a little bit of a thing written down here. The Bond series was created by British author and former naval intelligence officer Ian Fleming in 1953. He created the character to act as an idealized masculine fantasy spy, drawing heavily on his own real-life wartime espionage experiences and the daring agents he encountered. He was inspired to write books for several reasons: wartime experience, because during World War II, he served in Britain's Naval Intelligence Division, working closely with secret agents and commandos. His aspirational fantasy: he was essentially a desk jockey during the war and did not get to see much frontline action. He created the highly capable, suave agent James Bond as an aspirational alter ego to live out the thrilling, glamorous adventures he never experienced. And out of boredom and distraction, he began writing his first Bond novel, Casino Royale, in 1952, at his Golden Eye estate in Jamaica, largely as a way to calm his nerves and distract himself before getting married at 44. And a lot of people see Bond as a fixed identity, not a flexible one like Batman or Spider-Man with different universes combining, and all of these things to also kind of fit modern tastes. Changing his race becomes a symbolic debate about tradition versus modernization. And this frames the conversation around, why are we trying to have white characters be portrayed as black? Like, what is the point of that? You realize that inspiration from third world countries, they call them developing countries, developing since when? These countries have been inspired by things that don't look like them. Do you realize that? Like, we don't get inspired by, oh, he looks black, so I'm inspired to now be an actor. No, we see skill and then we're like, oh wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. And then we wanna be like them. We want to have that skill. We want to practice. People see Messi on the screen, they see Ronaldinho, they see Ronaldo, they see all kinds of players, they see Pele. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. People are inspired by virtue. People are inspired by character traits. People are inspired by skill that's been built up over years. And everything just like kind of chucks up to being about race, which is so tired. So he's not really saying playing James Bond is wrong. He's saying people aren't going to receive something that wasn't made the way that they're trying to maybe potentially change it to. And Hollywood makes decisions based on what people kind of want. And making Bond black or a woman is completely going to destroy it. Bond is $1 billion franchise. A lot of companies come around to make this thing work. And so some people argue that representation should come from new characters, not retrofitting old ones. And Idris Elba is acknowledging that racism and cultural bias still exist in parts of the world, but he's not blaming fans. He's describing economics of entertainment. And so imagine you yourself writing a book based on your mom or your dad, and it's in this fantasy land. And then like 50 years later, because the world has changed, someone's like, oh, we think your dad should be a different race, or your mom should be a different race, because we have such a big voice in the society now. So we want to see them representing us. It'll be like, dude, no, this is my fantasy. And these are the same reasons why you can't have American white people go into African countries and try to write themselves into their tradition of storytelling. You can't do that. If they did that, that would be such a problem. But all the time, Black people try to write themselves into white people's stories and history. And it's like, dude, stop. Like Cinderella, they made Cinderella black, I believe. Yeah, Brandy Norwood. They made a black Cinderella. Cinderella was never about being black. But, people like to push this stuff until they see some kind of representation of themselves, because I guess, frankly, they can't do anything on their own. I don't know. It's such a weird topic and weird thing for people to want. But at the end of the day, he's pointing out the truth. The world isn't as progressive as Hollywood might make you think it is. And then he also believes Bond should stay Bond, not a symbol, not a statement, just pure escapism into masculine, fighting, violent, explosionary movies. So do you think that Bond should stay the same or evolve with the times? Let me know your thoughts below. I would appreciate a comment, a share, a like. Catch you guys later. Peace.